It's me, the devil at the crossroads. You're very low. So, let's get down to business. Tell me, what is it? What is that you say? What is it you need? What is it you're looking for?
I want.
My time is very expensive. So don't waste.
But master, I...
Tell me what you want. You know how this goes. You give me something, and I give you something.
I'll give whatever you need. Whatever you need. I'm only here to serve.
You're boring.
Okay. I want complete and total domination.
That's complete and total domination. The goddess and I aren't exactly on speaking terms, but maybe I can get her to pull a favor. Aurora.
The goddess Aurora, she was enlightening, but I crave.
So, yo, left or pay? I'm fine with either.
Pleasure? No.
Hey. Ready.
That was tantalizing. But you didn't mention pleasure.
Pleasure is it? Phoenix.
I haven't reached new heights in this negotiations, master. And it wasn't that difficult. I have learned so much. Thank you. And all it took was complete and total submission.
So, too many of you think that negotiations is just a deal with the devil. And here to explain why it's not, here's your safe word.
So today we're going to be talking about consent and negotiations. So basically, before you enter a play scene, you have to have a negotiation conference with your partner. You don't want to enter a play scene without putting your do's and don'ts out there. Play scenes involve a lot of rough handling, urinating, ball gagging, choking, hair pulling, slapping in the face occasionally, scratching. You know, it could go a lot of different ways. That's why you have to talk to your partner and know the do's and the don'ts in negotiations. And just because you're the sub doesn't mean the dom won't have their own set of rules and negotiations for the play scene. But ultimately, it forms trust, it builds the relationship, and that's why it's so important. And I believe it's the same in relationships without the kink and the BDSM. You know, if you're having casual sex with someone, but ultimately, you know, you're going to want something more, these things should be discussed before you partake in the casual sex. Because then someone's left feeling one way, the other person's left feeling the other way, and then it's too late to really talk about these things because you already gave something. You already went against what you wanted to begin with because you didn't negotiate. So then you're left feeling a certain type of way, the same way you would feel in BDSM if you don't negotiate beforehand. And in the kink world, it's very important because before you go into a play scene, it's not regular, you know. Also, the thing that separates BDSM from abuse is the negotiation process. And consenting to it, obviously, because that's what you do during the negotiations. You consent to being smacked around.
Hey everyone, it's Kane Marcos, co-host of Safe Word. Today I want to talk to you guys about maturity during your negotiations. It's something that doesn't come up very often, but it's just as important as every other aspect of negotiating. It is one simple fact. If you're not mature enough to ask for it during negotiations, you're not mature enough to handle it during the scene. It's just that simple. If you can't ask for it, don't expect it. This goes hand in hand with one other very important aspect of negotiating, is asking for what you want and being more likely to get it. Sounds a little intimidating, but it boils down to one simple fact. If you're not mature enough or too embarrassed to ask for something during negotiations, you're not prepared for it to happen in scene. Bad things happen when you force your partner to violate their agreement. It's understandable that certain things can happen in the heat of the moment that you might want to try. You gotta table that and save it for your next negotiation and add it into your next scene. This again goes hand in hand with not forcing your partner to violate their negotiational agreement. This works on both sides.
Okay. First of all, that's magic with genie in a bottle. As a dom, I'm not gonna sit here and hold your hand and cuddle you. Well, wait, I might do that. Okay. Gotta be after the fact. That's called aftercare. We'll save that for a later discussion. You can't just snap things out of midair. Things have to move organically. And organically, what I mean by that is that it has to come naturally. Of course, certain things are never going to be natural to others. But if I feel like there is a need for an adjustment, I may tweak things a little, depending on your hard and soft limits. But this is where negotiations take place. We gotta figure these things out, because if we don't, we're both bound to lose this. We're both bound to destroy what we have or somebody can end up hurt, hospital, or dead. And that's a serious thing. So, negotiate contracts. Get it taken care of. And you have fun.
Negotiations and limits. That's what I'm here to talk to you today about. But why even have limits? I mean, what are they? Well, there's two types of limits. There's hard limits and there's soft limits. But we'll get to that in a second. Why have limits? Well, as the person receiving, or the sub, or the S-type, however you want to classify yourself, the person receiving, it allows them to explore their sensuality in a safe place without the fear of being hurt or emotionally stressed or damaged. And it's also really great for DOMs because it takes the guesswork out of things. You don't want to be stuck in a play scene and trying to figure out what to do next. It's kind of a game of double dutch. So negotiate it. Talk about your limits. That should be one of the first things that you do in negotiation, or talking about your soft limits and your hard limits. So soft limits, what are they? Soft limits are something that the person receiving may be hesitant to try but wants to explore. And for everybody out there giving, my DOMs out there, my beautiful, beautiful DOMs, you need to realize that whoever you're dealing with within these play spaces may not want to do all the things that the kink world has to offer. If you watched any of the other videos, like What is Kink? We discussed how many things fall under the category of kink. So wouldn't it be better just to know what that person is into versus trying to figure it out? You should always have negotiations and speaking about these things. So some examples of soft limits are things like wax play, gagging, choking, flogging, and bondage. But I would do it with some kind of tape. That would be a soft limit. And really honestly, it's up to the participant if that's their soft limit. Some of those things I listed may very well be a hard limit for someone. This is why the negotiation phase is so important. So, we talked about our soft limits. Okay. Yep, talked about all of them. So what are hard limits? Well, hard limits are completely off the table. This is not something that you can sit there and say after someone has set their hard limits, let me try it. Oh, let's just try it a little bit. You might like it. It might be something that you really like to do and explore. If someone set it as a hard limit, it's off the table. And DOMs, my people giving, you can set those hard limits too. I mean, it could be as simple as my back is hurting, my neck, oh, my shoulder, no, I can't whip you today, honey. Whatever your reasoning is, it's your reason. Maybe you're not into doing water sports. Maybe you're not into nipple clamps. Maybe you don't want to bruise or hurt somebody. Those are hard limits that a DOM or the person that is giving can set and say, hey, I don't want to do those things. And that's where you guys come to an agreement in your negotiation as far as, hey, does this even work? Does this scene work? Because you want to try this and I'm not comfortable with that. So it's very, very important to talk about these limits. So another important thing to know is that limits can always change. Limits change a lot, actually, and you should revisit your negotiation phase before you step into a play scene. And a hard limit may have become a soft limit or something that that person maybe doesn't want to try all the time, but the DOM then has to ask for within the play scene. And that's okay. You should be willing and open to exploring with whoever you're doing these things with. Another thing that should really be discussed, always be discussed, is punishments and discipline. How hard? How soft? What are the disciplines? What are you okay with as far as disciplining? I mean, it's a play scene. You guys should have fun, but you need to know where your limits are.